Well, hello and welcome to coverage now for the next 2.5 hours of the 35th edition of the Berlin Marathon. Myself, Tim Hutchington, Stuart Story beside me, will be with you now for this glorious Sunday morning run around the city. It's a large clockwise loop around the German capital, now Germany's largest city, and of course in the footsteps of Haile Gebrselassie, who has won here for the last 2 years and set a historic world record 12 months ago. There will be some 35,000–40,000 runners around the streets of Berlin this morning. There are over 49,000 entries. The normal no-show will account for some 20 or 25% of that. But what a wonderful city they have to run through. It's a major cultural city full of museums, galleries and concert halls with iconic sites such as the Bahnhof Zoo, the Brandenburg Gate and the wonderful Tiergarten. It's one of Europe's greenest cities as well. There is the Brandenburg Gate that they will come through with about 200 metres to run at the finish. The race due underway at 9 o'clock local time. That's in 8 minutes from now. But of course the big question mark in the media over recent weeks has been whether or not Haile Gebrselassie, who didn't run the Olympic Games marathon a month or so back because he wanted to focus on this one, whether or not he can improve on his old world record from last year, and indeed whether Germany can have a winner in the women's race with Irina Mikitenko, the London champion from last April, who was second here 12 months ago, will be going for victory. Mikitenko now very much a different force to when she was 12 months ago, making her debut on the streets of Berlin. Stuart, a lovely morning. Conditions absolutely perfect for marathon running as they negotiate this route around the city.
Yes, it is. It's a very fast course, as the times have suggested. It's not just Haile Gebrselassie that's broken world records here. Of course, Paul Tergat did that on the 30th occasion of the run. And as it wends its way through this city here, as Tim was saying, the finish, the Brandenburg Gate, just beyond it, and cross the river there. It's a some long straight parts to this course, which means that it's going to be quick. It's not particularly warm this morning, but then one would expect that. But conditions are generally considered to be good. So if Tergat did it, Gebrselassie did it. But when you consider that he's asking himself to run just inside 2:57 per kilometre to achieve the world record for the marathon here, then, well, it is quite remarkable. There are 24 pacemakers who will help the athletes along their way here. And, of course, it's not just for the elite who will have pacemakers. There are several club runners who have got their own pacemakers, and those just a little bit beyond the club runners who have also got theirs. And Mikitenko will have her pacemakers further back in the field. And one would suggest that there are one or two records that she could look forward to. Tim has already mentioned Mikitenko. She's on local territory, of course. And looking at the world record for sub, that's the age 35 plus, is 2:21:29, held by Petrova. And I just wonder whether Mikitenko will be able to challenge that on this occasion. It's going to be a tough ask because it's about 2.5 minutes faster than she's run before. But nevertheless, Tim, the athletes look as though they've gone through the warm-up, and as you said, there are 49,000 entries. It's never absolutely clear at this stage how many have turned up, but a vast number have turned up quite clearly from the site that we've got down the straight towards the Brandenburg Gate.
There is that wonderful aerial shot. They do start in waves in Berlin, by the way. About 7,000 at a time get underway, which is a good idea. It enables more people to get that feeling of being at the start rather than almost half a mile back from the start, which is the case in many of the world's biggest marathons, where there is just one gun, one big start. There are the essentials. Lines of Portaloos. My word, are they popular in the last half hour or so before the race. But there's an indication of the conditions. 10 degrees centigrade, a glorious sunny morning in Berlin. Wind, well, very small wind coming from the west. It will be negligible down on ground level, I'm sure. It looks ideal out on the streets there, as we see the Brandenburg Gate there. And they start on the Unter den Linden and Strasse of the 17th June, where that start line is positioned as always. There's a very small elite tent in the woods there. Well, the Gebrselassie and Mikitenkos will be going through their final checks, making their shoelaces done up properly. The stretching is done, the warm-up is done correctly. You don't need a great deal of warm-up for a marathon, by the way. You can ease into it. You're on your feet for well over 2 hours, let's forget.
I think, Tim, for all of the athletes, and I'm not talking about just the elite who will know their capabilities well, but certainly the advice to those new to the event is to start slowly and then slower than you thought you were going to start, because life can get difficult beyond halfway for those who are trained but not raced, and of course they will need to be wary of the way they feel, and if they feel good, not to let themselves go too early in the race. And when you talk about that, Gebrselassie has attempted the world record before, but has gone off far too quickly, and an athlete of his experience, so it's very easy for anyone to do that.
Yes, it is. In last January in Dubai, Haile Gebrselassie went out at what was regarded at the time as a suicidal pace, and it turned out to be too quick. He still ran the second fastest time in history, behind his own clocking of 2 hours 4 minutes and 26 seconds from 12 months ago in Berlin. But in January he went out too fast, still ran 2 hours 4 minutes 53, and he said after the race, I got it wrong, I made mistakes, I'm still making mistakes at my age. He's 35 years old now and still learning, but he says that what he wants to do today is to go out at the same pace as last year. He knows that last year he got it just about perfect, but he believes he can finish the second half at a quicker time.